Ravens still win without Zay Flowers, but it's going to be a different game. It's going to be a tougher game for Baltimore now. I think that makes it a one-score game.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Finish Strong Friday, a Picks Friday, a Winners Friday edition of the mighty Ross Tucker Football Podcast. We, of course, are presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. And before we get into last night's game, yes, I know it was a college game, but it's worth touching on a little bit. We'll touch on it more on the College Draft Podcast with Emory Hunt on Monday. Before we get to all the picks, I got winners. So Finish Strong Friday means I'm going to bring it for you guys. You bring it and your final day of work for your families so you feel great about what you do all weekend, watching football, doing things with your family. But you got to finish the work week strong. Winners Friday, I got some winners for you guys. And then Picks Friday, where I will make my picks for each and every game. We got 6 of them in the wild card weekend. Oh, before I forget, my pick for tonight, Ohio State by double digits. I think they are clearly the best team. I do have winners though, Jack. Spreading the word via social media, at Ross Tucker Pod, at Ross Tucker NFL. Jonathan Deal, he made a comment on Instagram. That counts. Jonathan, email me, ross@rosstucker.com. Just let me know your address. I will send you a signed press pass. I got some amazing ones from this season and more to come. Steelers, Ravens tomorrow, Eagles, Packers Sunday. Sponsor confirmation email winner, absolutely incredible. Best one I've ever gotten. I'll show it some other week. Reggie Sutton. Jack, he got a My Front Page story for me. It's amazing. I don't have it up here with me in my office. Next week I'll show it. It is amazing. Reggie, you are the man. Can't thank you enough. One of the coolest gifts I've ever gotten. It says it was really, really cool. He bought one for me, which you didn't need to do, but man, that was cool, Reggie. Let me know what press pass you want. Let me know what you want, period. I'll send you whatever, Reggie. That was amazing. And then the YouTube shout out, Ron Herrera. He said, PK and Ross doesn't get any better at youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Ron, you get a special video with a shout out to whoever you want. Reggie, Jonathan, you guys get signed press passes or football cards or pictures. All of you, email me, ross@rosstucker.com. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross, before we get to anything else, let's talk about last night's game. Notre Dame, they beat Penn State in a back-and-forth battle, moving on to the national championship, 27-24.
Yeah, we got a Thursday night football recap. It just happens to be college. Like I said, we'll spend more time on it for sure on the College Draft Podcast on Monday, since that focuses more on college football and NFL prospects. But the recap's presented by Labatt Blue Light. Drink some Labatt Blue Lights with your friends. Live life to the power of we. If you follow me on social media, at Ross Tucker NFL, you certainly saw that I'm stocked up for Labatt Blue Light for quite some time. Always enjoy responsibly beer. Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. That game, Jack, was exactly what I was hoping it would be. You know, so many of these college football playoff games had been blowouts, had been 2-score, 3-score games. I was hoping for a close, competitive game. It was exactly what we got. It was tremendous back and forth. Penn State's up 10-0. Then Notre Dame scores 17 in a row to go up 17-10. Then Penn State scores 2 touchdowns to go up 24-17. Then Notre Dame scores a touchdown to tie it after a Penn State defensive back slipped. And then ultimately, a costly interception by Penn State leads to the game-winning field goal for Notre Dame, 27-24. Looked like we were headed towards probable overtime, but wasn't meant to be. just some things that jumped out to me. The first round picks that your team, your NFL team should want. If you got a top 5 pick, you should be looking real hard at Abdul Carter. He reminds everybody a lot of Micah Parsons. He has a banged up shoulder. He still came to play and was an absolute force in that game. Absolute force was Abdul Carter. The same with Penn State's tight end, Tyler Warren. Both those guys are going in the first 20 picks. Abdul Carter, top 5. Tyler Warren, top 20. He is just such a good, unique player. I think the difference in the game was probably Riley Leonard and the Notre Dame wide receivers. You know, they made some plays. Riley Leonard made some really good throws, and his receivers, Faison and especially Greathouse, made some huge plays, you know, to get a first down late to go ahead and get into field goal range, to get the game-tying touchdown where the cornerback that was covering Greathouse fell, and that was costly for Penn State because Notre Dame was going to have to go the whole length of the field to get a touchdown. Said they get a big play. But Riley Leonard running the ball, like I said, I thought would be the difference. Him running some scrambles for first downs, some 3rd and 4th and shorts where he was able to convert, that was a huge factor. And quite frankly, the one thing I really don't like about the game is I always root for heroes, Jack, especially with college kids, but really anybody, I root for heroes. I don't want there to be like a clear GOAT, you know? And obviously Cam Miller, the cornerback that fell for Penn State, he'll have a tough time, you know, sleeping and not thinking about that one. And then Drew Aller for Penn State, the quarterback that people have been talking about potentially going to the NFL draft, potentially being a top 10 pick. I didn't really see that. Emory and I talked about that on Monday's college draft podcast. I didn't see that. I still don't see that. You know, he took a couple sacks that he shouldn't. He was simply not good enough, right? Now, in fairness to him, his receivers could not get separation. His receivers are not good. I post on social media with 2 minutes left at Ross Tucker NFL, 0 receptions, 0 yards for Penn State's wide receivers in that game. But Aller missed a wide open touchdown to Nick Singleton in the flat. If a guy's running an out route, you cannot throw it at their back hip. That would have been a touchdown, could have been the difference in the game. Would have been a touchdown instead of a field goal. He was wide open. And then late in the game threw, unfortunately, a really, really bad interception. About as bad as you can throw. And so I feel awful for Aller. I think he's 20 years old, 3rd year out of high school, and that's tough for him and his family to have to deal with that. I don't wish that on anyone.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, some other notes around the league. The NFL, they officially moved Vikings-Rams to Arizona.
Boy, you know they don't want to do that for a lot of different reasons, right? You know, you want the Rams to be able to get the home game that they've earned. You want Rams fans to be able to just drive to their season tickets. And I don't know what the crowd will be like in Arizona, you know, for a playoff game with the Vikings and the Rams. Maybe a decent amount of Vikings fans will head out to Arizona now. But I think it's the right move because whatever it takes to put on an NFL game in terms of first responders and medical personnel or fire or certainly police, you don't want to allocate any of those resources to anything other than these wildfires right now, which are super, super scary. I've had multiple people tell me what it's like out there, and I just, it's awful. You guys know I don't pay attention very closely to the news or politics intentionally because it skews so negative. But just talking with people that I work with that are affected or that know people that are affected sounds absolutely awful. So sad to see some of these towns where, you know, so many houses have been lost. I hope everybody, the most important thing is that the people are safe. You know, we always used to say it, you can replace objects a lot of times. You cannot replace people. So at any rate, thoughts and prayers with everyone affected in every way.
Some news, the Raiders, they're firing general manager Tom Telesco.
So it's always a little bit weird, right? When you fire the head coach on Tuesday and then you fire the GM on Thursday. That makes it seem like the organization didn't really have a plan, right? Like they didn't really think it through. They didn't really know what they were doing. It was like, okay, we're firing the head coach. I think there was even reports that Tom Telesco, the GM, was going to stay. Well, that's not the case. It sounds like Tom Brady is heavily involved, the minority owner for the Raiders. It certainly makes the job more attractive for certain candidates if certain head coaching candidates, if they are able to bring their preferred GM candidate with them, and or they're able to have final say over the roster, like a guy like Bill Belichick would want, who I don't think is what they're going for, by the way, but, probably even a Mike Vrabel. People want to have the best head coaching candidates either want to have final say over the roster, or they want to bring in a guy that they're familiar with, that they really like. And so that makes the Raiders' job more attractive, and it gives them the ability, especially now that Brady's involved, to pick the GM and the head coach they want.
And Georgia quarterback Carson Beck, he's entering the transfer portal instead of foregoing for the NFL draft.
Right. That's another one that Emory and I will talk about more on the College Draft podcast, but this makes a lot more sense to me that Carson Beck's going to the transfer portal coming off this injury. I'm sure somebody's giving him a bunch of money to play college football again next year, which is a much better scenario for him than going into the draft and maybe not going until the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. I think this is what any guy in that situation should strongly, strongly consider. All right, so Jack, before we get to the playoff games, last time I can tell you about the New Year's flash sale from my friends at westshorehome.com/Ross. If you've ever thought about maybe getting a new door, if you've ever even considered getting new windows, certainly if you want a new shower, like a walk-in shower, which are awesome, or maybe even a full bath remodel, please go to westshorehome.com/Ross, see what they did at my house, and take advantage of these deals. All you need to do is get a no-obligation quote, 20% off all projects, plus to start the New Year's off the right way, they're giving you an extra $500 off, plus you still get the extra $1,000 off when you go to my website, westshorehome.com/Ross. If you haven't seen my new doors, they look so much better than the old ones. Same with the bathrooms, westshorehome.com/Ross. So it all leads up to this. I've been talking about Smirnoff all season because they're not only the official vodka sponsor of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, they're also an official vodka partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59. What I love about it is you can get the world's #1 vodka without breaking the bank. Unbelievable. You don't want to be paying some of these other prices for vodka. Absolutely ridiculous. I had a decent amount of vodka drinks last week, which were lovely while I was with my family celebrating New Year's Eve. Big fan of vodka with Gatorade or those type of mixers where you're hydrating while you're getting some incredible Smirnoff. Delicious. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer, may vary by state. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days. Jack, last thing before we get into these games, I'm checking out the ticket prices for my game Sunday, Packers-Eagles. You can get in for $148. That surprises me. I would not expect that. You can get in for $148. That is very affordable to be able to take your kid to a game. Plus, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, not just $148 because you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Ross. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account and redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. There are really good seats for $296, for $330, $340. They have a great seat in their Game Time picks for $330. Those are the picks that they say have the most value with the all-in pricing and the lowest price guarantee. Use code Ross on the Game Time app.
Want to know which team is going to win every single game on Sunday? Then listen up.
All right, let's get to the picks. First up, Chargers at the Houston Texans. What are you thinking there?
This is maybe the toughest game to pick, or at least one of them. It is a tough game to pick. You know, the Chargers have been playing well as of late. You think about their last 3 games, the huge win over the Denver Broncos in Week 16 at home, the come-from-behind win. Then Week 17, they destroyed the Patriots. Week 18, a little bit more competitive maybe than they thought against the Raiders, but they pulled away. Something to really, really watch in this game is the status of Rashawn Slater, the left tackle for the Chargers who missed last week. You know, with him missing last week against the Raiders, they had to move Joe Alt, the right tackle, to left tackle. They had to put Trey Pipkins, who's been playing right guard, at right tackle, and then Jamari Salyer was at right guard. That's a lot of movement, especially when you're going against that Texans defense, right? You've got edge rushers like Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, you know, one of the few duos in the NFL where they both have double-digit sacks this year. And then the Texans also have elite corners in Derek Stingley as well as Kamari Lassiter. Greg and I talked about that yesterday. We also talked about the fact that the key matchup when the Chargers have the ball is going to be Ladd McConkey against whoever the Texans cover him with. That's the key. So watch early in the game. What's the plan for the Texans against Ladd McConkey? You know, do they put a nickel corner like Miles Brandt on him, but then, you know, have somebody else, you know, a safety or a linebacker leaning that way? Do they put Stingley on him and then bump somebody else to the outside? I mean, there's a lot of options there, but certainly, especially on third down, McConkey is the guy for the Chargers. Meanwhile, when the Texans have the ball, you know, if they can't run it, it's going to be trouble. Because without Stephon Diggs, without Tank Dell more recently, you know, I just don't think they can. And with their offensive line, I don't think they can just get into a drop-back pass game. I think the Texans are going to want to run it and pound it with Joe Mixon, maybe Dameon Pierce, who looked awesome Sunday, and then play action to the running backs, to Dalton Schultz, and to Nico Collins off of it. Could go either way on this one. I'm going to go with the Chargers. Probably a theme for me this week, but the team that is playing best coming into the postseason, I'm going to roll with that unless, you know, something shows differently, right? So I'm going to roll with the Chargers and the way they have been playing these last few weeks. I think it's a fun game. I hope it's a fun game. I think it's, let's say, 23-20 Chargers, something like that.
Next is a game we are all too familiar with. The Pittsburgh Steelers are traveling, as well as you, to Baltimore to play the Ravens.
That's not what you're supposed to say. I thought you had a shtick.
You scared me out of it. You punked me out of it, so now I gotta switch it up. I'm like in a, it's like Markelle Fultz when he lost his shot. It's like I lost my rhythm.
Yes, I will be driving to Baltimore, probably about an hour and 20 minutes tops. I don't know what jacket I'm wearing yet, so make sure you follow me on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. I'll post a picture. It might be Big Orange, my ski jacket, which I wear a lot of times because it's very easy for you and my mom and everybody to see me on the sideline. I typically will spend a lot of time on the visiting team sideline. Number one, because there's less people over there. Number two, that's always away from the cameras, away from the press box. And so I'm on the side where I can get a lot of TV time. It's like a little game I play with myself. Ooh, that doesn't sound great. So anyway, Zay Flowers officially ruled out. And so that's significant in my mind. That really is. It looks like it moved the betting line by half a point. So the Steelers were getting 10 points. Now they're only getting 9.5. Non-quarterbacks don't move the betting line that much, but moved it a little bit. So I have a tough time picturing the Steelers moving the ball very well. They just have not done so. They need George Pickens to make some superhuman plays. He is a very good player, very talented. He cost them the Bengals game by how poorly he played. For them to have a chance to win, he's going to have to play very, very well in this game and make some plays down the field. I just don't see any other scenario where the Steelers put up some decent points. On the other side, look for the Steelers to sell out to stop the run and then trust their DBs against the other receivers for the Ravens. This is going to be a challenge for the Ravens without Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is the guy that you need to double, but he's not even playing in the game. So they don't have a guy you need to double, other than maybe Mark Andrews on third down and in the red area. So I like the Ravens to win the game still, but I do think it'll be closer now. And so I'm going to make that my DraftKings pick of the week, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Ravens still win without Zay Flowers, but it's going to be a different game. It's going to be a tougher game for Baltimore now. I think that makes it a one-score game. I'll go Baltimore 23, Pittsburgh 16.
Next up, the Denver Broncos. They are at the Buffalo Bills.
So in any game like this where one of the teams got some rest in Week 18, I think you always are a little bit curious as to whether or not they get out of the rhythm, whether or not there's a little bit of rust. It's not that much rust for the Bills. It's only 1 week, so it's like kind of like their normal bye week. And instead, actually, they probably practiced quite a bit in that game. Josh Allen has been phenomenal this year. I do think he's the MVP, and I think Greg saying that the foundation of the Ravens offense being the run game and Derrick Henry kind of reinforces that in my mind. I like the Bills to win the game. I would not be surprised if the Broncos are able to go out there and make it competitive just because they have a very good defense with guys, as Greg mentioned, off the edge that people don't know. And Patrick Surtain might be the defensive player of the year in the NFL. And I think Sean Payton will have a very good game plan. Like a lot of these games where there's a big favorite, Ravens or Bills, how that game starts is really critically important. Really critically important how it starts. I'll take the Bills, but I do think it's going to be a good game. I do think it'll be competitive. How about 23-17 Buffalo?
Next up, the Green Bay Packers are traveling to Philadelphia to play the Eagles, who are wearing all black.
They are?
I believe they are. They have the all black statement practice, and teams are permitted one alternate uniform in the playoffs. So I've gotten, if the field's painted all black like they showed in practice, I am taking a very educated guess there.
Didn't they wear all black for the last game?
They did, yes.
So maybe it was still painted from that. Maybe they don't paint it till Saturday.
Well, like it's like the outside, like the designs on it's like alongside the paint. It's like the banisters, whatever you would consider like the outside of the field.
Well, whatever. I would think we would have heard that already, but who knows? So this is a game. This is another game where Eagles looked good in their last game against the Cowboys. Even their backups were able to beat the Giants. But what are we going to see from Jalen Hurts? He hasn't played in almost 3 full games. Didn't play it all against the Giants and played all against the Cowboys and went out early in the first quarter against the Commanders. So it's been a while for Jalen Hurts. He could come out rusty, which would not be good. The Packers have not played their best football the last couple games. That's everybody has seen that. And, Jordan Love, who I think is totally fine with that funny bone issue, according to SixScore.com. I said this on the Ross Report, which I post to social media at Ross Tucker NFL. It just feels critically important that the Packers get off to a fast start, right? They've struggled the last couple games. They are going on the road at Philly. That will be a raucous atmosphere. Packers come out, score a touchdown. Then they start to feel better about themselves. Then they say, okay, yeah, we're the playoff Packers. Like, we're turning it on again like we did last year. We're back. The last couple regular season games don't matter. Take the crowd out of it a little bit. If the opposite happens and the Eagles get off to a fast start, boy, then it could really go sideways for Green Bay. They can start to think, man, what is up with us? And, then the crowd gets crazy on third down. I think the Packers are going to get off to a good start. I think it's going to be a good game. Ultimately, I still think the Eagles are a little bit better. Wouldn't be surprised at all if the Packers won. I mean, they have the 7th best Super Bowl odds for a reason. They are a talented top 10 team, offense and defense. I'll go 24-20 Eagles. But if the Eagles get off to a fast start, they could win by 2 scores.
Side note, I was wrong about the black alternates. They are not. You were right. Commanders are at the Buccaneers.
Should I do a whole thing where I talk about maybe that's research you should have done before the show started, or do you think it's better that you just messed up and I get to point it out again?
Both.
Okay. Just for the record, Jack never messes up. Jack is incredible. He's a ninja in every way. So I love to bust his chops a little bit anytime there's any totally minor, insignificant error. Oh, it's funny. Commanders Bucks. This could go either way. I'm going to go with the Bucks playing at home. They have the better offensive line and probably just more faith in Baker late in the game than Jayden Daniels just because of the playoff experience. Now, Jayden Daniels has been fantastic, and in particular, how he played late against the Eagles and the Falcons is the reason why the Commanders are here in the first place. That said, didn't look real good on Sunday against the Cowboys. And Baker just kind of willed the Bucks to that win late. I think the quarterback's legs will be a big factor here. The quarterback that makes more plays with their legs, actually. And I think sneakily, it might be Baker Mayfield. Give me Baker and the boys in a fun game. 31-30 Bucks.
We'll wrap things up with Monday night, the Vikings at the LA Rams.
Such a shame that the Rams can't have a home game here. And so interesting that they did not care about their seeding one iota to play their guys in that last game. They were perfectly fine playing the Vikings or the Lions at home, except now it's in Arizona. That has changed the line by a full point in this game. I like the Vikings. A, I think they've been better over the course of the year. B, I think this is tough for the Rams. With everything going on with the wildfires and how it affects them and their families and the changes, I think that's a lot to overcome. I'll say it's a close, awesome game that ultimately the Vikings pull out late. 27-24 Minnesota. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. Be like my guy Reggie Sutton. Get one for somebody awesome in your life, and I'm guaranteed to send you a signed autograph in the mail. myfrontpagestory.com. Backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sportico.